Hello, my friends. As you already know, Putin has proposed a 3-day ceasefire starting May 8. Peskov called it a gesture of goodwill.
The president is guided by humanitarian considerations. This is a sign of goodwill and shows our willingness to seek a peaceful resolution.
But Zelensky responded to the Kremlin's proposal to begin a ceasefire on May 8.
Back on March 11th, we agreed to the American proposal for a complete silence. We then made our own bilateral offer to Russia to stop strikes, at the very least, on civilian infrastructure. We also proposed a full 30-day Easter ceasefire. Russia has consistently rejected all of this and continues to manipulate the world, trying to deceive the United States, and now again, another attempt to mislead. Suddenly, everyone is supposed to wait until May 8th, and only then will the shelling stop, just to give Putin peace and quiet for his parade. But we value human lives, not parades. That's why we, and the world, believe there is no reason to wait until May 8th. The fire must stop, not for a few days just to resume killing later, but immediately, completely, and unconditionally, at least for 30 days, with guarantees and reliability. A real foundation for diplomacy. We reaffirm this proposal. The American offer is still on the table. Russia knows what to do and how to respond. Ceasefire is realistic.
Friends, if you support this, be sure to write in the comments Russia wants the war to stop when they say so and then to resume it again when they say so, but that's not how it should work. Meanwhile, Republican Senator John Kennedy delivered a powerful statement.
Here's what I see. Putin has reneged on every promise that he has made to President Trump. His latest proposal is, well, nothing. He wants to keep all the territory that he's taken. He wants to prohibit Ukraine from joining NATO, and he wants America and Europe to stop helping Ukraine. I think that Putin thinks that America has taken the bullet train to Chunktown. I think he thinks we're afraid of him. He has jacked around President Trump at every turn. He has disrespected our president. I don't think it's going to get any better until we make it clear to Mr. Putin that we are willing to turn him and his country into fish food. And I'm not talking about nuclear weapons or nuclear war. I would start with oil, which I will be glad to talk about if you want.
Well, friends, share your thoughts in the comments. And to make it harder for Putin to continue his war, last night Ukraine struck another oil depot. Reports said that fire started before the air raid alert, but most likely it was after the strike. Explosions were also reported in Berdyansk. Russians claimed the air defense systems responded successfully. In turn, Russia launched strikes on Odessa and yesterday also hit Cherkasy. Overall, the exchange of strikes continues. Now let's move on to the situation at the border. So far, the general staff hasn't reported any new clashes. However, Russian sources claim that Ukrainian forces haven't fully withdrawn from the Kursk region and that Ukrainian presence is still being detected in the forested areas. Meanwhile, based on geolocation maps, the situation in the Sumy region appears to be worsening. Russian forces are beginning to advance, and video evidence of this has started to emerge. The Ukrainian side hasn't yet made any official statements regarding these developments, but the situation is clearly deteriorating. In the Belgorod direction, Russian strikes on the Sumy region continue, although the Ukrainian forces haven't launched any new attacks. In the Kharkiv direction, things have been relatively quiet. There haven't been any attacks along the front line for some time now, and fighting has resumed only in the area of Vovchansk. However, the front line there hasn't shifted over the past 24 hours. In the Kupiansk direction, Russian forces are assaulting Petropavlivka and Malashapkivka. Attacks also began near Dvorichna, targeting Krasnopershe, and Russian sources are claiming the capture of Kamyanka. The Ukrainian side hasn't confirmed this information, although Russians have released a video showing their presence in the village, tossing grenades into basements and buildings as part of a clearing operation. So there is a chance they've indeed made some progress. Preliminary reports suggest an advance of 1 kilometer and 100 meters. However, let me emphasize, there have been no official statements confirming this so far. In the Borova direction, Russian forces are assaulting Boguslavka, Nova Krugliakivka, and trying to regain control of the village of Nadia. However, they haven't made any gains so far, and the front line has remained unchanged over the past 24 hours. In the Liman direction, Russian troops are attacking Yampolivka, the village of Myrne, Kolodezi, Nove, Ritkodub, and Novy Mir. Despite the high level of activity in the area, no changes have occurred within the last day, and all Russian assaults are being successfully repelled for now. In the Siversk direction, Russian forces have temporarily reduced the activity and are currently conducting attacks only near Verkhnyokamensky. However, no changes have been observed over the past 24 hours. It's important to note that shelling continues and the Russians are still attempting to break through existing Ukrainian defensive lines. In the Chasiv Yar direction, activity remains very high. Russian troops are trying to expand the territory they control near the Novopivnichny microdistrict. Intense fighting is ongoing in the central part of the city as well as near the Stupochki area, with attempts to push toward Bila Hora, Kurdyumivka, and Ozaryanivka. The Russians are also actively using FPV drones along their defensive line in an effort to weaken Ukrainian positions. Strikes on Kostiantynivka continue as well. Despite the heavy fighting, no significant changes to the front line have occurred in the last 24 hours. In the Toretsk direction, Russian forces are assaulting Sherbynivka and attempting to break through into Toretsk itself. Fighting continues near Krymske and they are also attacking Deliivka. Further south, assaults on Stara Mykolaiivka persist, though there have been no new breakthroughs despite around 10 assault attempts in a single day. In the Pokrovsk direction, assaults on Novoalexandrivka continue. Russian troops are trying to push through near Udachne and Kotlene, and once again, attempts are being recorded to break through into the outskirts of Pokrovsk and the area around Chunishine. Additionally, battles for Lysivka are ongoing, and Russian forces are pushing toward Malinivka, Yelizavetivka, and Nova Poltavka. Despite carrying out more than 60 assault attempts in just 24 hours, they have made no gains and the situation remains unchanged. In the Kurakhove direction, Russian forces are assaulting Kotlarivka, Troitske, Oleksiivka, Konstantinopel, Bohatyr, and Odradne. Activity remains extremely high in this area, and the Russians are not holding back on deploying reserves. As a result, the gray zone continues to gradually expand. Bohatyr is experiencing particularly intense shelling, and Ukrainian defensive lines near Dachne are also under attack. The situation here remains difficult, but there have been no changes to the front line over the past 24 hours. In the Velika Novosilka direction, Russian troops are attacking Vilna Pole and conducting shelling. However, there have been no changes in this area either, and all assaults are being successfully repelled. In the Zaporizhzhia direction, assaults on Lobkove are ongoing, accompanied by heavy shelling. Russian forces continue the artillery preparation in advance of larger offensive operations. However, there were no changes to the front line over the past 24 hours. In the Kherson direction, Russian troops continue shelling and attacks on the islands. Notably, Russian sources have claimed a crossing breakthrough to the right bank of the river. The Ukrainian side hasn't yet commented on these claims, so we await confirmation. Still, the situation here appears to be developing unfavorably. Meanwhile, Peskov continues to claim that Ukraine hasn't addressed the root causes of the conflict, making the negotiations difficult.
Resolving the situation around Ukraine and addressing the root causes of the conflict, without which the interests of the Russian Federation cannot be ensured, is a very complex matter with many nuances. A superficial approach is clearly inappropriate here. It requires very serious, intensive work.
And that's all for me. So please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on all the latest news. Thank you for watching, and see you next time. Bye bye.